Good evening, everyone. I am Sahana, Assistant Registrar of Academics of Lakulish Yoga University, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. On the occasion of 7th International Yoga Day, Lakulish Yoga University welcomes you all to a one-day national webinar on quality learning among students during pandemic, sponsored by Inter-University Center for Yogic Sciences, Bangalore. I request the participants to keep their microphones on mute, and in case anyone has a question, they can type it in the chat box, which will be answered by our speakers at the end of each session. COVID-19 pandemic has hit us hard by disrupting health, economy, lifestyle, and most of all, peace of mind. It has pushed us to live in a constant fear of risk of infection and death. The condition right now demands complete isolation from the society for the safety of one's own health and life. Human beings are innately social in nature. We thrive on surviving and prospering as a society. The pandemic times have been the most difficult times faced by human race. The constant fear, isolation, drop in economy has led to a great negative impact on psychological health. Most of the parents have expressed that their children have all of a sudden become anxious and borderline aggressive after the onset of pandemic. Staying at home all the time, no social interactions, no physical play has definitely taken a toll on both adults, but more so in teenagers and children. It is indeed very disheartening to see children and teenagers closed inside four walls and interact only with few people. Children, teenagers, and early adults who fall under the category of typical students had the maximum part of their learning in either schools or colleges. Due to the pandemic, the schools and colleges have been shut down. The only learning that happens is through virtual mode. For students who have spent their larger phases of learning in offline mode, it is very difficult to cope in online mode of learning. Teachers and parents are finding themselves responsible for learning of their children in new context through new mode and tools of learning. The question is not only about learning, but also maintaining the skills gained in the past years in regards with education, social interactions, and moral standards. Indicators of issues in mental health among students are often not obvious, but if ignored, it can and will cause long-term complications in them. Hence, the dire need to understand the challenges faced by students and the solutions to help them face these challenges. With experts in medicine stating that the third wave of pandemic is expected in India in the month of October and that it will affect children, the main questions that remain are, what are the actual challenges faced by students during pandemic in terms of learning, and also in insights into Indian system of education and how it can help with creative learning. Learning is an adaptive function which involves acquiring new skills through which a person modifies his behavior to adapt his best to the present situation. It is a continuous process. It might be educational learning or learning to cope with the environment. When we approached the director of IUCYS, he suggested this wonderful topic. We often forget that learning in students is very important, not only for their skills, but also for their psychological well-being and also for their future when they can use this learning to build a life. Learning is one thing that the pandemic could not destroy. Hence, the need for this webinar. To understand the challenges faced by students in the process of learning and insights into how our ancient Indian education system helped in creative learning, and to see if we can inculcate any of those in today's education policy making. Before we start off with the sessions, I want to invite our chief guest of today's webinar. Today, we have with us Professor Avinash Pandey, the Director of Inter-University Accelerator Center, Delhi, and Inter-University Center of Yogic Sciences, Bangalore. We're just waiting for him to join in. Please give us a moment. He has joined us. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to all of you. He is the reason behind this program. Professor Avinash Chandra Pandey ji was Director, Institute of Interdisciplinary Studies, University of Allahabad since 2016 before joining IUAC. He was Vice Chancellor of Bundelkhand University from 2012 to 2015. He has earlier been professor at University of Allahabad before obtaining masters from Physics, Mathematics and DPhil. Degree from University of Allahabad. As a principal investigator, he led to development of 3 new centers in Allahabad University. He is accredited with the development of nanotechnology application center, besides setting up of high fluence ion beam facility, a state-of-art ion implanter facility in the premises of University of Allahabad and Innovation Center, weather station, animal research facility at Bundelkhand University. He has earlier been professor and founder head department of atmospheric and ocean studies and coordinator of K. Banerjee Center of Atmospheric and Ocean Studies, MN Saha Center of Space Studies at University of Allahabad. He is an adjunct professor at Michigan Tech, USA. His researchers have focused in developing novel non-material, various real-life applications from LED, TP, biomedical and diagnostics, and new fluorescent carbon material, besides non-linear dynamics in surface modification using ion beams. Professor Avinash Chandra Pandey ji has been an associate of ICTP Trieste, Italy. He has been member of governing boards and academic councils courts of many institutes such as INST, Mohali Iris, Nainital, Dr. H.S. Guru University, Sagar, and University of Allahabad. He is a member of many academic societies such as American Physical Society, Ion Beam Biotechnological Research Society, Indian Meteorological Society, Computer Society of India, IETE. He has guided 25 PhD students and has to his credit 208 papers in international journals and 41 papers in national journals. He has 7,168 citations to his record. He is currently the Director of Inter-University Accelerator Center, Delhi, and Director of Inter-University Yogic Sciences, Bangalore. Isn't his list of achievements spellbinding and fascinating? He has approximately a lot of programs lined up today, but he has made time to spend, he has given us time to be here with us. Yesterday also, he was with us, if you all remember. I request sir to give the keynote address now.
Thank you, Sanaji, for nice introduction. And in today's program, I could see the speakers, Dr. Sudha Rani, who will be talking about learning during pandemic, challenges and perspectives. Dr. Vijay Kumar, creative learning and insight into Indian education system. And followed by, there will be a yoga module practice. So first of all, thank you very much for taking a call from my side, because UGC, University Grants Commission, and IUCYS was having this thing in mind that students, they are facing through difficult and piquant situation in which they are not able to go to their regular classes. They are isolated. They are having social distancing. Actually, for pandemic, we need to have physical distancing, but it has converted into social distancing. And because of that, it is felt that these students might face kind of situation in which they are anxious to know what will happen to their future, their mental health, their social well-being is all under stake. So because of that, it was decided that we will reach out to the students through yoga universities in the country. And I'm happy that Lakulish University has taken a call and they have organized very beautifully, inviting the best minds in the country to talk about some of the things which are very pertinent to disruptive technologies during this disruption. So when I call disruption, we have already noticed that for the last 2 years, if I open the campus, I am blamed that I'm shameless. I do not have the full precautions. I have not got my students vaccinated. The protection is not there. So nothing is above the human lives. And because of that, the campuses across the country are closed, not only across the country, but across the globe are closed. So in that situation, we have to have the ways by which we can reach out them, and we can definitely make their lives easier by taking these practices. And in 2018, the Government of India, Ministry of Education, which was known as Ministry of HRD, they decided that we will have inter-university center. So we have a legacy of, I can say that jewels of University Grants Commission. The first center was Inter-University Accelerator Center, which was known as Nuclear Science Center at Delhi. The other one is Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in Pune. Likewise, we have another center in Indore, that is UGC DAE Center for Advanced Sciences, that is IUC again. And we have another centers which are service oriented, for example, NAC, InflibNet, Consortium for Education Communication. So this comes as a 8th center, Inter-University Center for Yogic Sciences. And I'm happy to note that Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who is Chancellor of S. Vyasa University in Bengaluru, he was instrumental in bringing this center in the country. Why? Because, we have got a rich tradition of Indian knowledge system. If I classify different systems, you know that there are two broad groups. One is orthodox philosophical system, another one is unorthodox. In orthodox system, you have Sankhya, you have Yoga, you have Nyaya, you have Vaisheshik, you have Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, and they are all propounded by the great seers, the rishis and munis. And that tradition continued in a long way. It was continuous. It was not a discrete phenomena. And I can say that this was a democratic process by which we questioned the very existence, and also to know the ways by which we can know the ultimate knowledge or the knowledge supreme. So till date, we are still finding the ways by which we can learn, we can get some information about what consciousness is. And in your yoga studies that we believe on pratyaksha praman. Unless otherwise you have evidence-based research, nobody is going to believe you. So in 2018, when we came out with this center, there was about 8,700 publications across the world in all peer-reviewed journals talking about yoga, meditation, and its positive effect on human body. When I call human body, when I say human body, it is not only limited to your physical health, but also mental, emotional, and social health is also covered. And again, yoga is not limited only to some like asanas, set of asanas, yogas, or some exercises. This also has introspection and looking into yourself and knowing more. So by meditation, by having different kind of practices, we do go for in search of some of the things which have already challenged our knowledge, and in that pursuit, we have to also come with the evidence-based research by which I can say that this practice is standardized and this has got implications for this purpose. So we have to go in a long way. And when I say that this is our Indian knowledge system, why we should worry about praman, pratyaksha praman for making others, those who are outside India, to believe that this system has efficacy? No. Our concept of me, mine is not limited. We are not limited only to our own children, our own family, but we extend our concept of mine to the society, to the country, and to the planet. So we care about ourselves and also about the whosoever is there on the planet, be it plant, be it animal, be it human being living in this part of the country or anywhere on the world, in the world. So that is what motivated us to bring forward the practices for the common good, and it can be made available to the people who otherwise have suspicion or otherwise they don't believe in these practices. And within a short span of time, you could see that on IDY, International Day of Yoga, in all countries, out of 193, most of the countries, 170 and more than that, they have started practicing yogic exercises, not symbolically on the day to commemorate that this is IDY, but they have used this as a matter of their well-being and also as a life-saving practices. COVID-19, I can say that this is blessing in disguise, because you are confined in a room, bounded by a few walls, and you do not have any other option. So last time also and this time, the motto of this IDY was be at yoga, be at home. Be with yoga, be at home. That means you are not able to go and practice yoga along with the community in a park, but definitely with the family. Last year, we had this kind of idea that with the family, you have to practice yoga. And this time, be with yoga, be at home. So we are emphasizing that you are not supposed to go outside, but definitely you can practice all these practices at your home. This virtual mode, which was in existence for so many years, was not actually explored because we liked to be in person, face-to-face. Communication was preferred over these kind of virtual media. When I talk about this depression or other elements, our country, the statistics may be something, but here it is not a possibility when we are very much mingled with the family system, when we have an ecosystem where the society supports you. Well, the majority of people are mentally fit. Outside India, in other countries where the system of family is not that much of robust, society support is not there, they do go under a phase which is called depression. So during this period when we are having anxiety, there are many stress hormones, and we also go through very disturbing news sometimes. Maybe it is fake sometimes, but it has an effect on our health and as well as on mental status. Sahanaji was referring to the third wave. Third wave is likely to come in October. People say that it may affect the children. We are in the process of vaccinating, and we cannot say that we did not do much. We have vaccinated people more than the population of several countries. But being most populous country in the world, the challenges are there, and that too we have to motivate the students, motivate the people to come forward and take vaccination. So I will talk about something relating to our Inter-University Center for Yogic Sciences. The motto of this IUCYS is Ath Yoga Nusashanam, which is the first sutra of Patanjali. It emphasizes that the discipline in all walks of life is an important ingredient for your well-being. It is not only your mental, your mind is one important aspect, and that is the supreme. So you can control yourself, you can have a discipline in all walks of life, only then you will be a successful person. So reaching to this part, that you can also mind your mind, is really needed. And during this period of anxiety, during this period of disruption, minding your mind becomes important. Yogasanas and other exercises, breathing exercises, does help in fighting with the COVID by strengthening your immune system. But removing your free from all kind of anxiety and in your mind which is there, the worry, you need to have this kind of control. And this is said that mind is the best friend and also mind is the worst friend. If you control your mind, it becomes your best friend, and if you don't, it becomes the worst enemy. So the emphasis here is that we have to follow the practices which are taught here, and we have to make ourselves disciplined. Disciplined is not limited only to following set of rules, but also behavioral control which is there. And once you control your mind, you will yourself notice that stress hormones have gone down, and also you are in a moment in a joyous state of mind. So this IUCYS is set up to promote, to create health and harmony, peace, and happiness in the country. IUCYS is also looking for an opportunity where we can have world-class inter-university center, where we can have all the facilities which helps in Pratyaksha Pramana. You can know what are the knowledge traditions and how they are blended with the current day applications, with the scientific evidences. We can make innovations in teaching, research, and training, and that is being done today. You might have gone yesterday also some yogic exercises through this electronic media. So these are innovations which were otherwise not possible when we had a conventional mode. So in IUCYS, we value peers, we believe in collegiality, and would like to engage in academic discourse and research ideas amongst institution and researchers. So with having a good collaboration with many of the research institutes who are practicing yoga, we have to compare the different practices, and we have to come out with the in-depth knowledge of yoga, and we have to make ourselves confident about its efficacy in enabling social transformation. So IUCYS is also committed to bring out the application potential at various levels of Indian knowledge traditions. Our Indian knowledge traditions are very rich, but somehow it got disrupted somewhere when we were under colonial power, and sometimes when we were raided by outsiders. So this need to be nurtured in such a manner that whatever hidden treasure is there in our Indian knowledge system should be brought in a perspective which is presented from the viewpoint of the inquiry system, the scientific temper which is there nowadays. The young generation will only accept unless otherwise you have the scientific inquiry and causality is proven. So in IUCYS, we also plan to have the ability to develop a comparative study and understanding of alternative cultural and knowledge domain that will enrich its work in improving the application potential of yoga. If I talk about the mission of IUCYS, so mission of IUCYS is promoting yoga, teaching, research, and practices in universities and higher educational institutions by providing the state-of-the-art facilities. Why the word state-of-the-art facilities mentioned here? You sometimes need functional MRI, you may need EEG, you may need several such things which measure some of the important body parameters when you are in the process of meditating. And the research have already shown that if you meditate for a longer period of time, the changes in hardware takes place. Hardware, I mean, the brain gets modified. So for example, if you have an experiential knowledge, if you come to the state of Buddhatva or Bodhisattva, that means there is a plateau of Anhadnad or Shasnad, the kind of experiential knowledge which is there. You can always correlate it with the hardware changes and anatomical changes in the mind. And that need to be established. That what we do, and that why it is required. It is not required in other cases, but it is required in the cases where the children with special needs, they are to be treated. The autism, the dyslexia, many such diseases are there among the children, and those diseases can be cured if these practices are put into place and they are trained to train their mind. So unraveling and advancing the knowledge of yoga through educational and training programs and build capacity at all levels. So I was going through the video which was being shown for Lakulish University, and I was happy, and I'm happy to know that we are creating capacity. We are building capacity in the area of yoga teachers who can serve in hospitals, who can serve in as a yoga teacher, instructor in universities, in colleges, and they can also become preachers outside the country. So that is the capacity building which is required. It should not be a half-cooked product which is not sellable. I should not use the word sellable, but definitely when you go outside India, your value is only when you have full knowledge of your practice, and you also you have the capability of explaining why this phenomena, why this kind of exercise is being done, and what does this exercise affects, how this exercise affects to you, which part of your body is getting affected, which part of body is getting like rejuvenated. So these are some of the things which we need to know. We have to bring this benefit of yoga to the society. I told you that we are not mean, we are not focusing only on our family and only our society, but we are reaching out to entire humanity. So for that matter, these state-of-the-art scientific research and dissemination is very much desired. So IUCYS will become sometimes, with the help of you people, as think tank to provide policy inputs on yoga education at regional, national, and international levels. So when we'll come to know that you had this kind of practices practiced in your place, and you got these results nicely documented in terms of evidences, we will use this as input from your side to propagate it further. Likewise, we have to develop standards, quality framework for yoga teaching, research, and practices to ensure quality assurances. Unless otherwise we are accredited, we are assessed, we are known for our quality, nobody will come to you. So for that matter, who is going to set the benchmark? So IUCYS, with the help of all these institutions who are practicing yoga, will come out with those standards, those benchmarks by which we will assess, accredit the institutions, the practices for visibility, for making it more effective. In this way, we will promote health, happiness, harmony, and why to go to a doctor when you have already contracted a disease? You can always prevent those diseases. You can have a preventive alternate plan. You can also prescribe some therapeutic advices using not the tablets, not the injection, but some of the exercises, some of the meditation practices, and using other applications of yoga, you can become part of integrated medicine system in the country. And you know, in most of the cases, the allopath, wherever it is practiced, the yoga therapist is also there. So as an adjuvant, that therapy is added to the therapy which is commonly known and commonly practiced. By doing this, we have to create an ecosystem in yogic sciences through global collaboration and multidisciplinary groups. And I'm happy that today is one of the speakers is from USA. She practices psychology, and she's there to help us, our student, to understand the intricacies during this pandemic, how to learn, how to make this disruptive period useful. So these are some of the things which I wanted to highlight. And again, the credit goes to Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who was instrumental in bringing this nice IUCYS. And because of Corona, the funding got stopped because we were involved into many other projects. So all the institutions, there is a frozen state in which only the bare minimum things are done. Once we recover from this, we'll definitely take a call for setting up the facility, creating infrastructure, and we'll invite people to work with the facilities which we will create. During this recess period, when there was nothing other than available option of this virtual mode, we requested the universities to come forward and to connect with the people and tell them that these are the practices that you should go, you should follow. And I'm happy that this is being done very nicely. So that the credit goes to Sahana ji for organizing such a wonderful event. Thank you very much for inviting me. I thought that 30 minutes is too much for me, but being a teacher, when you give a mic and when you give an opportunity, the teacher does not stop. So sorry for exceeding the time limit because we have another speaker lined up. So I would like to listen the other speakers. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure listening to you. Not at all exceeded the time. You were just very modest. That's all. Thank you so much, sir, for guiding us towards this need of our topic and introduction to IUCYS. The need of the hour is to create a holistic education where students are equipped for both practical-based learning and also theoretical. Aim should be to produce students who are not only moralistically on the path of dharma, but also professionally equipped to prosper for themselves and for our country. Thank you so much again, sir, for your unconditional support in organizing this program. You have always been kind whenever I have called requiring any guidance or suggestions from you. Thank you so much. Lakulish University is indebted to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move ahead to the first session of the day today. We have with us Dr. Sudha Rani Kailas, who will be talking about learning during pandemic, challenges and perspectives. Gives me a lot of warmth and happiness to introduce Dr. Sudha, whom I belovedly call as Akka also. Dr. Sudha Rani Kailas is a pioneer in the field of holistic psychiatry. As a creative person, she understood the integral connection between body, mind, and spirit from a very young age. All the while dancing and singing, she graduated an exemplary preparatory program at the Academy of the Sacred Heart in New Orleans with highest honors before going on to graduate from the University of Chicago with honors in neuroscience. She then returned to her hometown of New Orleans, where she graduated from Tulane University School of Medicine with a Master of Science in Pharmacology, in addition to MD, PhD in neuroscience. Shortly prior to graduation, Dr. Kailas and her family sustained the trauma of Hurricane Katrina, which opened her heart to the cosmos and henceforth to the ancient Eastern healing arts of the Vedic sciences. Dr. Kailas went on to completing triple board residency training in pediatrics, adult psychiatry, and child and adolescent psychiatry at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Manhattan, all the while weaving the spiritual wisdom of yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotish into her training. She continues to hone her understanding of the intricately spiritual beings that we are by bridging her scientific knowledge with the vast ancient arts of Vedas. Dr. Kailas is grateful for the opportunity to offer compassionate interpersonal guidance through her private practice in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where she has served and resided over the past 9 years. We are privileged to have such an eminent personality who can not only enlighten us, but also help us practically understand the challenges faced by students and how to help them. Over to you, Dr. Sudha.
Thank you, Sahana Chelli, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you, Dr. Pandey for the keynote. I'm going to share my screen now. I look forward also to hearing from Dr. Vijay Kumar. And I thank you so much for also to Dr. H.R. Nagendra for organizing this talk for us today, for us all to be able to share this deep wisdom. And I think, let's see. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So today I would like to speak with all of you about learning during pandemic challenges and perspectives. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. And let's see. Oh, I'd like to start by saying that we are always learning. Whether we like it or not, we are always learning. From the minute that we are born into this world, taking this human body until we pass on onto the next lives, wherever we go, we are learning. We are receiving information from the environments, and we're incorporating them into this beautiful system that we are born into, this complexity of the human being that we are. And what we need to understand is if that learning is helpful or not. So healthy learning involves, again, concepts that that don't truly exist in the Western framework. So yoga is very difficult to translate actually in the West. So we can say yoking, union, sharing. Healthy learning involves yoga. It involves satya, jnana, vidya, the truth of the wisdom, the truth of the wisdom. And when we hear the truth of wisdom, we are able to receive it in a way that's much deeper than if we receive something that was contrived or falsified, or what we are talking about as science today. I greatly appreciate and value what science is. What science is able to offer. But at the same time, I'm seeing that the science in the West is basically a conceptualization of constructs of science, whereas the Vedic sciences come from nature. They come from an understanding of the world. And so this, again, may land differently. If we are trying to develop constructs on top of constructs, we're moving farther and farther away from the truth. And that may not resonate with us clearly. And that's something that we must listen to and listen to in our children as well. So healthy learning is fun, it's vibrant, it's dynamic, it's curious and creative. Again, a lot of what we see in children, it's active, motivated, engaged, energetic, authentic, and it occurs in a complex environment that reflects the complexity of what exists within us. So yoga teaches that learning is both external, that we receive information from the outside, from all of our sense organs, and that we also learn internally. So we take this information inside and we reflect upon it, contemplate upon it, and allow it to integrate into the truth of our being, so that, again, we may move outward and interact with humanity, with society again. So the most important thing I'd like to impart today is that learning is an emotional state development. It is an emotional state development, and it is a whole body response. When we are learning, truly actively learning, our whole body is engaged. It is dynamic, it is vibrant, and it is alive. When Dr. Pandey said that we're increasing our capacity through yogic practices, what we're doing is we're increasing our capacity for the potential power, for us to be able to hold the power of these emotional states, these dynamic emotional states. So most people would say that hands-on experience is the best way to learn. However, neuroscience shows us that mirror neurons in the brain fire the same way, whether we are performing an action or observing that action. So whether we are actually doing something, like if we are engaged in the act of running, the act of playing, the act of learning, the act of acting, expressing our emotions, then there are certain neurons in the brain. They're usually in the back of the brain. Some of them have to do also with our cortical areas of the brain. They also fire if we are watching somebody doing something. And this is very, very important for us to impart to our communities and, again, to the world, that we are being influenced by what we are receiving all the time in a way that is very deep. It's affecting our learning states. So if we are watching fighting, if we are watching violence, if we are watching things that are not harmonious, to the nervous system, we in fact are activating neurons in our brain that are activated if we ourselves do those actions, if we ourselves perform those actions. And a great example of this is mirroring. So when we are first born into this world, the first way that we learn is through these mirror neurons, and it is through this action of mirroring. So again, from infancy, children are mimicking the affect, the facial expressions of those around them. And they do so as their musculature develops. So in the beginning, they might not have the proper muscles, strong muscles of the face to be able to mimic, mirror their parents, their family members, their loved ones. But slowly after time, this is the first way that the muscles learn. And again, we have this science that's telling us about the nervous system. And again, in the future, there's a great hope with the integration and the science and study of yoga that we will see that it's actually happening on a vibrational level. It's happening on a more etheric level that is not just on this physical, but not in the physical plane alone, but also on these auric planes. And after we learn how to mirror, we move into a place of joint attention. So we may see something, and one of the great loves in life, one of the great values of life is to be able to share, to be able to join in with another in their experience. And so we might see a beautiful sunset or a beautiful rainbow, a beautiful animal or flower, and say, hey, look, and we're joined in that seeing. So a child may see you seeing something and watch you watching it, and then also watch it. And there's a learning that happens again with that joint attention, and then perhaps again through the mirroring, through the sharing of that experience that makes life so valuable. And again, I'm bringing these basic fundamentals of learning, the first steps of learning, to help us understand how emotional it is, how moving it is in our dynamic being. And that is actually what we know to create long-term memory, emotions. So in terms of the psychology, there are two philosophers that I'd like to speak about. The first is Erik Erikson. He was a German philosopher that existed in the 1900s that talked about the stages of psychosocial development. And I'd like to also overlay the understanding of Dr. Rudolf Steiner. I'm actually not sure if Rudolf Steiner was a physician, but he was a philosopher that was an Austrian contemporary of Erik Erikson. And the reason I'm bringing Erikson's psychology of development, the stages, is to help us understand that it never ends, that it really truly never ends. So these first three stages, trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame, initiative versus guilt, these happen before the age of 7. And if we kind of compare with Steiner talked about the development of the physical body happening between birth to the age of 7. And so this is tying in again that during the first 7 years of life, we're really developing the emotional framework in the physical body. We're developing the nervous system. Science shows that, again, by the age of 7, our whole nervous system is fully developed. So we are able to do the tasks of an adult. Even though the body may be small, we are able to do the tasks of an adult. All of the very intricate, minute details that require the fingers and the toes, the tongue, we're able to speak and act through all of the mannerisms of an adult. And the emotional body is developing during this time. So children under the age of 7 really communicate most through emotions. Again, through this mirroring, through the joint attention, we're learning about the nuances of communicating through emotions. What can I get versus what can I give? The initiative versus guilt is this last stage of the emotion development that continues to expand as we grow forward. So again, 7 through 14, Erikson talks about the child applying themselves, a teenager working to refine themselves. And again, we're talking about feelings here. Again. And in Rudolf Steiner's system, he talks about the etheric body development. And so the etheric body development being more of the development of the mind, of these mental frameworks, of this auric space. And if we talk about, which we'll look into more detail as we go forward, the koshas, as we look at in the Vedic system, we call this the astral body. So the astral body consisting of Vijnanamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha. This astral body is a place where the mental frameworks exist, and they permeate the physical body, and they extend out further than that as well, from my experience and understanding. And again, Steiner goes on to talk about the astral body. He uses this word astral body to describe what we would see as the causal body, 14 years to 21 years. And, he's talking about the spiritual body, and we call it the causal body or the Anandamaya Kosha. So this is the realm, the framework that's connected to the Atman, the soul that's within each of us, and also to the great cosmos beyond. So Satchitananda, and we'll, again, to go into this in more detail, but this continues throughout life, as Erickson shows as well, that young adults struggle to form close relationships versus feeling isolated. Generativity versus stagnation has to do with a sense of contributing in the world with purpose versus a lack of purpose, integrity versus despair, speaking about how we look at the end, look at our lives at the end of our life, reflecting on the life. The older individual may feel a sense of satisfaction, failure. So again, we're talking about learning as feeling, developmental stages of learning as feeling through never goes away. We're constantly driven by feelings and emotions. So to bring a little bit of the language that we have in the beautiful Sanskrit language and our yogic scriptures that we don't have in English language, that we don't have in these modern frameworks, lifelong learning involves, hopefully for all of us, Sanskrit language. That's in the definition of that word, Sanskrit, is refined, consecrated, sanctified. So again, something that can land on us with truth. If we're talking about landing on us, that's our Atman feeling in that emotional framework of what is true, what is alive, that allows us to connect, to channel to Satchitananda, to this bliss body, Anandamaya Kosha. Jijivisha, I love this word, Jijivisha, a strong wish and desire to live and continue living. A strong wish and desire to live and continue living in this world where so many are struggling with the emotions that are clouding the kleshas of the mind. Jijivisha is such a beautiful concept that we have a wish and desire to live and continue living, a wish to propagate life, a wish to continue in healthy growth and development. Again, moksha, aham prema, that there's liberation, release, salvation, freedom into this bliss. That is something that allows us to ascend, to advance forward, to continue to go beyond meeting basic physiological needs, even basic emotional needs, that allows us to continue seeking and reaching higher and higher, to continue this learning process. Aham prem, that true love, that devotion towards that. Tejomaya. So again, going back to this analogy of capacity, building capacity to grow power, that we are actually brilliant. That power shows up as brilliance in our life. Again, we have science that's showing us that DNA holds light, and that light is coming through these practices, through meditative practices, through pranayama practices, and it's actually illuminating us through brilliance, this full of light, splendor, effulgence of being, Tejomaya. And asha, hope, desire, protectiveness. Again, in our culture, we name people these beautiful names as well to carry these concepts again right in front of us as those mirrors. Ananda, Rupa, Pragya, Dharma, Parakram, Shvas. We can carry this beautiful language to help us, again, through this lifelong learning. And the great aim of education. So why was education even created? This is something that is important for us to contemplate as we're moving forward, because it's actually very ancient, but then the frameworks that we work on now are quite new. And the great aim of education is action. And action requires emotion. Action requires practice. If we think about filming a movie, 3, 2, 1, action. These actors are practicing their emotions in their action. And that is what all of us are doing in this stage of life. And again, if we think about the Jijivisha, this is choosing to participate in this stage of life. And how is it that we want to show up each and every day on this stage of life as a learned individual? So it requires emotion and it requires practice. And what is that practice? Again, we have this beautiful practice in our Vedic systems to help us, because knowledge is just potential power. Knowledge is simply potential power. So again, that battery may have a capacity, but the battery may not be attached to anything. And that's the potential that we have there through the knowledge. And when we act, when we plug it in, when we serve through that animation, through these emotional responses of practice, that is when we start to develop the power. And power is the amount of energy transferred per unit time. It has a unit of watt. And so the easiest way is to think about a light bulb may have 40 watts, it may have 60 watts. The more watts a light bulb has, the brighter it glows. And so to develop the power, this proper power, again, in light, some people can see this auric space as light, color. And so to develop this beautiful clarity of our auric space, we must act from knowledge and know how to act. And this is where learning happens. This is where learning happens. Learning is acting from knowledge and knowing how to act. In the West right now, we have a model for accelerated learning as follows, that we have a certain mindset, a mindset that must be clear again, that drives us forward. And in combination with motivation, so that motivation may be, again, as we've been talking about, monetary through commodifying things, the way that our capitalist society works. It could be, again, for the higher good, the well-being of our planet, the well-being of one another and all of the creatures. So the motivation influences the mindset. And these are implemented through methods. And those methods, again, we can translate as our practice that we have, pranayama, our visualization, meditations, etc. And the star in the middle is how all of these are integrated into our being. And we'll overlay this model for accelerated learning onto, again, our kosha system to help us understand how we can heal these different layers, keep these layers clear for the ultimate potential that all of us have as humans. So again, to remind us, yoga is a science. It is a way of life. It is not a religion. It's not dharma. Or it is dharma, sorry, it's not dogma. It's not dogma. So many of the religions in the West today are dogmatic. So there's a forcefulness around it. And in our Hindu philosophies, we talk about how everybody is Hindu. And the reason we can say this is because we're talking about them as humans. We're talking about them as humans. Hindu comes from Hindustan, but truly our way of life comes from yoga, which is a science. It's a study of nature. It's a study of the world around us, a study of the creatures, of the plants, of the rocks, the minerals, our own being, the cosmos, and our relation to all of them. So if we can, again, help people understand this, and especially as we experience it, as we ourselves experience it, then hopefully people don't need as much convincing through the scientific platforms. Again, Dr. Pandey, I highly respect your work, and I highly respect the value that comes from sharing through writing, and it's absolutely integral to being understood in a more global way. But I do hope for the future for our children that they will be able to trust their intuition, trust the experience of their intuition, and understand that their experience of yoga in their practice is what is helpful to them. And that's why they come to it as a way of life, as a way of learning. And that's why it's a deep honor to speak with this community here, because no matter what is still in India, it is still in our practices, it's still in our daily life. We cannot take it for granted that it's just built in the temples in these ways that help to transmute, this vibration, this great vibration out into the cities. This is how it was built, and it's still preserved in India to a great extent. And it's really brilliant and inspiring for the future. So again, more than anything, we must set an example for learning. So I make this intention now, before we go into more of the challenges, for all of us to set an example for learning through rising our emotional state, our emotional vibrational frequency for one another, for our children, for the planet, because she feels us. She feels us, and she communicates to us through these very mystical ways, and this feeling and in this knowing. It may be, again, through the way that the tides change, or how we see images in the clouds, how the animals do interact with us. But we do know that this vibrational frequency, this higher, gentler, calmer, peaceful, blissful frequency is an example for us to embody and practice for the highest learning, the highest good. So now that we're moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about pandemic and how pandemic challenges learning through the trauma response. So pandemic is actually causing trauma response in the physiology. The Trauma and Learning Policy Initiative states that trauma is not an event itself, but rather a response, again, an emotional response to one or more overwhelming stressful events where one's ability to cope is dramatically undermined. These experiences in childhood can lead to a cascade of social, emotional, and academic difficulties. As students get older, exposure to traumatic events and experiences can also lead to the adoption of self-medicating behaviors such as substance abuse, smoking, and overeating. All of these responses to traumatic events can interfere with a child's ability to learn at school. And unfortunately, again, the micro trauma of the Western culture is this untruth that we have been growing upon. Again, America is a very young country. We call it a very adolescent country in this way. And the sad part is that the teachings of the West, again, this kind of commodified society is being shared with the rest of the world. And so we're seeing some of these problems, moving towards the rest of the world. It's become very, very common. When I was young, it was not very common to see people get tattoos. And now it's very common to see people get tattoos, which is kind of, a self-harming behavior in one framework. And we're just seeing, again, more substance abuse, more of this management of the mind, of the emotions, all over the world. And it's my great hope that we, again, can utilize these mediums, these platforms of technology to raise our awareness, to raise our consciousness, as opposed to dulling them through again, overeating, just very, very basic, dulling, tamasic ways of living. So that being said, it is important for us to respect one another's processes and to honor the struggles of the others, to support their struggles with our own stira, our own vira, our own strength and courage, because the way that we do move emotions through our body is by feeling them. So if someone is angry, why are they angry? Raudra, why is the Raudra coming up? The Raudra comes up when a boundary is crossed. So we must respect this and understand, help them understand how to manage that emotion and then process the information. We cannot go straight to rationalizing with somebody that is absolutely frozen by fear. If they're paralyzed by biome, how are we going to actually communicate with them, intellectualize and rationalize with them? We must move them out of that state of fear into something that is more relaxed, that is more receptive, and then we can again move through these processes of learning. So this is actually the first step, is to raise ourselves out of these lower vibration levels of emotion so that we can even receive learning. We have to be in an open, receptive place emotionally to receive proper, healthy learning. And mindset is key. Mindset is key. So health comes from peace of mind. Health comes from peace of mind. And right now, this is, I feel, what Dr. Pandey was speaking about, that these children are projecting into the world based on their past experiences. And what we can help them do to help them open and expand into healthy learning is to see that the past and right now the present are not the only possibilities, that there's always a third possibility, that anything is possible. And so that is what all of us are here to do, is to come together to channel this information through us about what is the future? What is the future of creative learning? And so again, I do look forward to hearing Dr. Vijay Kumar's talk, also to help us understand the creative aspects that we can bring for the future of learning. And then once that health from the peace of mind comes, then only may healthy learning follow. So trauma, again, these micro traumas that we're experiencing daily through the pandemic, through, whatever it is that we're watching through media, through the projections that the media is making, that maybe the hospital systems are also making, science is possibly also helping in creating, is a whole body response. We're feeling this in the entirety of our body. And this is why asana is such a helpful thing, because it is helping to move this trauma that gets lodged in the small musculature, in the small connective tissues, the fascial networks. It helps move that out. We're learning now that the fascial networks, which we were not able to study before so much, not sure if I did that or how that came about. Let's see if it's permanently there. Let's, not sure how to delete that. Let's see. Sahana Chelly, do you have any ideas about how to delete something that may have been drawn on the screen? I'm not sure. Can you guys even see this red line?
Yash, can you please help her out?
Okay, there is some lining here. On your bottom left screen, there will be a pencil. You can edit that, and in that pencil, you will get the eraser tool.
But some of the participants, they are using this freehand drawing, so they should be disabled by the administrator.
I see. Yeah, because I don't see how I would be able to do that because of the screen share, I believe. I'm not sure if I stop the screen share, if I'll be able to erase it. Should I try?
Do one thing. Yes, turn it off and again turn it on.
Okay, I see the eraser. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Perfect. Let's see, now you probably are seeing this whole box of the Zoom. And I'm not sure how to stop the eraser. Let's see, go to the mouse. I see. Thank you so much for the patience, everyone. All right. And can you still see my screen? Or now, has it started again?
Yes, it is visible and perfect.
Okay, great. So let's see. So some of the learning difficulties that we have due to trauma, and I have seen this again because I lived through my own trauma of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. So I saw this with many of my friends and family members even, our difficulty with focus, concentration, and memory. I think that that's one of the most challenging things, to be able to just sit down and read a book or read a magazine, to be able to focus. There may be challenges with reading, writing, or reading comprehension. So we might read a page and we might not receive anything from that page. We may have to read it 3 or 4 times, and that can become extremely frustrating. There can also be an apathy, a development of apathy, a lack of interest. I don't know, I don't care, I'm bored, I've seen that already, I know that already. So again, these are challenges that sometimes we must be patient with. Patience, again, is one of our greatest virtues in our Puranas. And if we can develop that and help ourselves and help our children, help the people around us that are having learning difficulty, understand that there is hope, that there will be some regaining of these skills if there's a desire, again, if there is that desire. Signs that extra help may be needed are, again, changes in sleep, appetite, mood, academic failures, breakdown in relationships, that risky behavior that we were talking about. We may see things that may be seen as good. Hypervigilance, though, is something that we should be wary of. So this may start out as excessive cleaning of the environment, controlling the food intake, harming the self, dissociating. And that means actually like not being in the Atma, not sitting inside of the physical body, inside of the Annamaya Kosha, but actually moving out into some other space. Projections of hallucinations, so auditory or visual hallucinations. So again, these are things that we can pay attention to if the people around us are struggling in a deep way, and help them find the help that's needed. But again, most humans are resilient people. We have great resiliency within us as a community, especially. So if we maintain those strong supportive relationships and continue adaptive skill building, as we will have again throughout this evening in the actual practice of yoga, and these positive experiences on a daily level, we can remember and remind ourselves that the growth is possible. Okay, I'm seeing another little line here. So yeah, if somebody can turn off the drawing function for the community, that'd be helpful. I'm not sure if I can do that. So let's see. So now we're here at the koshas, talking about our 5 koshas and the 3 bodies, and we're going to overlay our systems of advanced learning that we have in the West with this beautiful framework that we have in our Vedic knowledge. Again, beginning with the causal body. So the Anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheath, is the causal body. And this is a place of motivation. We can see it as the place of where our motivation arises. It again is the core from which karma originates and connects with Satchitananda. It's the bliss sheath. It's where the true blissful nature is experienced. And it is also a place from this understanding of who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I taking action? Where this understanding can come and be channeled again in through this Atma, so that we know ourselves and we know how we are to drive in the world. The issue here right now in these days is that this Anandamaya kosha is full of pollution. So the same way that and again, this is just my understanding of how things are working, and I really invite conversation and discussion about this, but just the same way that we are polluting our atmosphere with all of these satellites, half of which are broken, and we don't go up and take them down, we just leave them up there floating in space. The same way this forms, again, this kleshas, this cloudiness for our bhumata. And this is the same thing that's happening with our consciousness as well, is that our Anandamaya kosha, which is supposed to be this place of absolute bliss that we create by staying connected to source energy, has been clouded by this lower level of consciousness, where again, people are dulling their vibrations through substances, through adharma, again, the adharma that it's just constant these days in our society. It's really a sad, unfortunate place that we're again hoping to move from and elevate from. Is clouding our consciousness, such that I see people, some children especially, that are moving into this space of again growing the astral body, so growing the Manomaya kosha around that age, 13, 14, 15, and they may have been raised in very, very strong family systems, a lot of sthira, a lot of vira, but they're feeling suicidal, they are feeling depressed, they're feeling down. And they tell me that they know that it's not them, that they know that they can feel the pain of the world. And so again, a great deal of what we may feel as pain, especially in our raising of consciousness, may not be our own pain. It may be the pain of the world, of other individuals. And this information can come through visions of what's happening on the planet. It can come as language information of what's happening on the planet, or it can come as a felt sense. These are the 3 layers that we're working on. And so that vision is more this place of the Anandamaya kosha, this more etheric space. But again, if we break through and if we do tap into the source energy, we can understand, who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I taking action? And that may help drive us forward. Again, we can also speak with Jyotishis in our culture. We have beautiful Jyotishis that can help us to guide as well if we're feeling very clouded. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And again, this is a beautiful phrase by Rumi to help us again express our Atma, express what are our unique skills and talents, what are we passionate about, and then how can we work towards this daily. And perhaps this is something that we may not see in our lifetimes. Perhaps this is something that we would see in 3 lifetimes, and it's still worth working towards that on a daily basis. How do we heal the Anandamaya kosha? So it's about managing energy again, and managing that capacity, increasing the capacity, and also increasing the power that we may hold in that capacity. And we do this through that internal learning, through these yogic practices, which are this internal learning, this deep system of internal learning, through small, simple steps. People are so intimidated by spirituality. And I think, again, that this was constructed so. This was a construct to create division. And we are working to create integration. And so if we can help people to understand that it's just small, simple steps day by day, and we can speak to them in, again, more of these the language of the Western frameworks, like visualization or hypnosis, or kind of hip, trendy buzzwords that really help us to understand what we're doing inside of meditation, what's happening with mantra, pranayama, what's happening even in our asana practices. So moving forward, we'll talk about the astral body now. And this is where the seat of the mindset is. We can talk about Vijnana Maya Kosha as being the intellectual sheath that helps us to navigate our mindset. So part of the astral body, the subtle body, which some see as color, as we described before, it's the place where intellect and discrimination occur. It is our power to know and discern, the Vijnana Maya Kosha. It is the ego and character strength that is cultivated here. So it's the knowing of ourself, the ego knowing of our story, of our lineage, of our ancestry. And it's also where inspiration is received. So again, if we think about where motivation and mindset connect, that is inspiration. And this is new ideas, creations, innovations for a hopeful future. So again, if we're thinking about an old paradigm of learning, it's a fixed mindset. Again, it's a construct from the West that if you do A, you get B, and then C, and then finally D, and you may be able to rest. And that may have worked for a generation, maybe 2 generations here in the US, but we're seeing with this third that that's not happening. And it's actually creating a lot of chaos in the mind. Again, the same way Dr. Pandey was talking about, if it's teaching our children a sort of expectation that's really not there for them anymore. So the mindset needs to change. And what we're doing now is cultivating a growth mindset. A growth mindset is, we'll talk about it in a slide, but before we talk about the solution, the challenges with the Vijnana Maya Kosha, again, that's coming from these old paradigms, the fixed mindset, are mainly self-sabotage. So self-sabotage through the way of action, like harming ourselves in different ways. But where does the harming ourselves come from? That's an action that comes from a thought. So again, in our Vedic science, we know that everything is arising from the mind. If we don't handle it in the mind, then it's going to manifest in the body and be handled in the body in some action, and that may not be healthy. So judging the self, so telling ourselves that we're not good enough, that it's not possible, comparing ourselves with some sort of highlight reel that people have on social media, overthinking. That is basically losing control of thinking. And that's what leads to overwhelm. That's what leads to obsessional compulsive behaviors. That's what leads to perfectionism. That's a huge problem in our society today, perfectionism. We don't even get anything on the page. We don't even draw the picture because we're overthinking about how horrible it is before we can even get it out. Negative self-talk. So again, all of these words really affect our ability to learn, a healthy learning state, and limiting beliefs. We may procrastinate, so we put things off, and we might be using old methods of learning. So how do we read, for instance? There are ways, again, that we know how to read faster to receive more information. How do we receive information from the environment in general? If we're more focused, if we're more attuned, if we're more practiced, then we're able to receive information in a more efficient way. We have glorified busyness in our culture in the West here. And really what that translates to is inefficiency. People are so busy because they are inefficient. But again, if we charge that battery to the greatest capacity to hold the greatest power, then we can be quite efficient. And that efficiency comes from incorporating relaxation, incorporating these beautiful yogic techniques into our daily lives. And so these are new ways of learning, new models of learning. Slowly over time, what we've seen is art being taken away from school, recess being taken away from school. And again, these are places where emotional learning happens, where rest happens, so that we can do the more active practices of mathematics, science, reading, writing, etc. So how do we heal the Vijnana Maya Kosha? We heal by expanding the mindset into all that is possible. So again, this is a practice that we first start with ourselves and then that we practice with others. So if we hear an idea that seems unfathomable, what do? We might say, oh, that's impossible. That's not possible. That's too big. But if we can encourage each other to dream, that's all we're doing is dreaming. We're not hurting anybody. Then we can expand our mindset into all that is possible. We can remain curious. And that doesn't mean that we don't work hard. We continue to work hard, but we're able to be kind. The system, when it's overstressed, it's difficult to be kind. It's difficult to be kind to the self, and then it's difficult to be kind to other people. And that happens because we're overwhelmed again. So if we remain curious, open-minded, and kind, then we can ask, what do I believe is possible? what am I truly capable of? What do I deserve? What do we all deserve as a society? And if we can continue to take in information about supportive, progressive topics and bring in tejas that are calming music, serene vistas, inspiring stories, this will help to heal the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Again, if we can continue to support one another in communion with Bhumi Devi. So again, here are our mirror neurons, and I'm just bringing this slide up again to remind us that they fire whether we're performing or observing an action, and also add that hypnosis, again, which is a state of alpha brain rhythms, a hypnotic state that we achieve when we're in pranayama, when we're in deep meditative states, even theta states. These hypnotic states are active, activate the brain in certain ways, and that the brain, that in hypnosis, the brain also activates when we think of certain actions, behaviors, or habits. And so again, this is an idea of visualization that we can help each other with. So if someone is having struggle with learning, if they're having a struggle with focusing or concentrating, then perhaps they can sit back and visualize themselves actually receiving that information, picture themselves actually acing that exam. And then that actually calms the nervous system and trains our brain to actually be in that winning state, that winning mindset. If we study the minds of Olympic level athletes, they will say that training through thinking, training through hypnosis, just imagining and visualizing crossing that finish line is more powerful, more potent, more effective than actually training the physical body through running the race, etc. So the power of our mind, the power of our thinking is so vast, it's so extraordinary. Of course, in our community here, I'm preaching to the choir, but if this is something that we can continue to study and share with the world, this will help us all advance. So again, we're looking away from these old paradigms that are dying. They are not helpful. They're not in a growth mindset, and towards a paradigm of what is a growth mindset. So again, language that matches such. I have a growth mindset. I am in charge of how smart I am because I can grow my brain like a muscle by learning hard things. I can achieve anything with effort and right strategies. And when I fail or make a mistake, it is a great thing because I can learn from them and I get better. So this is the key right here, not to be challenged by dismal circumstances such as the pandemic in our life, but to see it as a great thing. It is a great thing because it is an opportunity for learning. It is an opportunity for us to create something better, to grow into something better. And yes, it's not to dismiss the trauma and the grief of all of these lives lost. But again, if we can understand that perhaps these are souls that have made a contract to leave at this time in a great mass exodus, then that can help us to, again, rise into a higher mindset to help continue grow forward into the future. Beliefs lead to results. So beliefs create our values and our habits. Whatever we believe, whether it be positive or negative, they create our values and habits. So from our thoughts come forth the emotions and feelings which influence our attitudes and decisions. These actions give us results, either positive or negative, based on the beliefs. We always have the power to mold our beliefs into that which serves us best in communion with our environs and all those around us. And that is the most important thing to know. We stop growing our beliefs. We learn a certain belief system from our family members, from our teachers, from our community when we're very young, and then we kind of hold fast to those beliefs. But if they're not serving us, like this society right now, the way that our global culture is moving, it's not serving us. It's not equitable. And so can we mold our beliefs into something that will serve us best in communion with our environs, with the whole world, with Bhumi Devi and those around us, all of the creatures of the world? So just in the last 2 minutes, I guess I'll say, just moving into the method section, I'm sure that we'll hear a lot more from Dr. Vijay Kumar Ji about these practices, but the Manomaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha are beautiful places where we can actually implement some of these methods. Again, methods and the Manomaya Kosha, which is the emotional sheath, where senses are assimilated, are Tanmatra Chikitsa, cultivating Sattva over Rajas and Tamas. We also talk about CBT. So again, I won't get into all of the Panchamahabhutas, but they determine our mental they determine not only our physiology and our physical being, but also the Manomaya Kosha, all of the koshas they influence. And again, we can speak about these beautiful, the beautiful art of puja, which is Tanmatra Chikitsa, and that exists in every single religious culture, religion, tradition. And it's basically coming into touching base with our senses, grounding our senses from the mind, incorporating that information into our nervous system. Again, elevating ourselves from a tamasic place to a rajasic place, and then hopefully a sattvic space, creating as much as possible. So I know I'm going to wrap up soon, but I wanted to again remind us about our beautiful teachings through art. Again, Navarasa from Bharatnatyam. These are our 9 emotions. That's it. These are the 9 emotions of humanity. Anything else is papam. Anything else is papam. And we can accept papam at, again, a younger age, when we're more immature, when we're learning maturity. But as we develop past 4, 5, 6, 7, do we tolerate this? Because again, it is basically not taking control and having courage, having shanta, encouraging, cultivating peace. And I will stop by saying that again, preaching to the choir, that the pranayama is the greatest medicine that we have. It really, truly is the greatest medicine that we have, this vibrational medicine for the healing of our world. So we can come together. All of this integrates in our Annamaya Kosha, in our physical being. So let's continue to learn about India as a way forward, as a way out. We have such a strong, beautiful, ancient culture that's still at practice and at play. And I'm so grateful for all of you in this world to be able to interact and grow and learn with. So, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you.
Any questions? We would be taking it now. Please type it in the chat box. A lot of thank you messages for the very informative and wonderful session. Okay, there's one question. Any counseling session for children? Okay, that's a personal question. I will be conveying it to her later. Any other question related to today's talk? If none, then we would like to move on to the next session.
We cannot, you are muted.
Okay. Lakulish Yoga University thanks Dr. Sudha for enlightening us about the challenges faced by students in learning. Despite your busy schedule, you've made yourself available to the webinar. We are always indebted to you, ma'am. I met Sudhaka at SVSA campus. She's one of the kindest souls I have met, and she's undoubtedly one of the best pediatricians. Thank you, Akka, for once again accepting our invite to be the speaker. I'm sure all the participants agree with me when I say that your talk was very helpful. But thank you once again for sharing your knowledge and time with us.
Pleasure.
Moving on, I would like to start our second session for today by Dr. Vijay Kumar P.S. on creative learning, insights into Indian education system of learning. It gives me a sense of pride to introduce Dr. Vijay Kumar P.S. to all of you, for he is our own from Lakulish Yoga University. Dr. Vijay Kumar is an associate professor at Lakulish Yoga University, Ayurveda and Yoga Therapy Consultant. He has completed BAMS, MD in Yoga Rehabilitation, and MSc in Clinical Psychology. He has more than 40 scientific papers in the field of yoga, psychology, and medicine to his credit. He is a well-renowned clinician in the field of Ayurveda and yoga. He previously was the resident medical officer at Arogyadhama, a holistic hospital in Aishwarya University, during which he worked and conducted several camps for the famous Stop Diabetes movement. He was the head of neurology and rehabilitation department at Arogyadhama, as well as associate professor at Aishwarya University. He has also taught yoga and rehabilitation students abroad. Now I request Dr. Vijay Kumar to start his session.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and namaste. Very good evening, everybody. So thank you, Sudha-ji, for such a wonderful session. It was very provocative in the direction of understanding the process of learning. So let us try to, take that a little bit forward. So my topic for the today's session is creative learning, an insight into Indian ancient education, because as we all know that, right? Because we are everywhere, people are talking about creative learning. So the biggest question right now here is, we all know what is learning, but whenever we get to hear something called as creative learning, it makes us like, curious to know what sort of learning this could be. Learning is gathering, information or knowledge along with certain skills required. But when it comes to creative learning it's a vast, application of different methods and different philosophies to learn better. Whatever we are learning, in order to learn better, so one has to be creative. When you come to an understanding according to Western psychology, people are talking about questioning and challenging. These are the very basic requisites or even basic components of creative learning. And if you see questioning and challenging, not in a negative sense or an offensive way, questioning and challenging, if you see the Vedic context in ancient Indian education, where we talk about prashna, prati-prashna, these are the very essential qualities of a student. One who is seeking knowledge should ask question, should raise question. Without raising question, without asking question, we won't be able to understand the concept clearly. So that is the first criteria of being a student or a learner. And here also the same thing applies, making connections and seeing relationships and envisaging what might be the correlational part of it, exploring ideas, keeping options open, and reacting critically. See, if you see, all these things are collectively, trying to explain the same thing, that learning is not a monotonous, or learning is not a unified field. Learning is a multifaceted, ongoing, lifelong process. Like every day we learn so many things, and each individual try to learn things in a entirely different way. It is highly subjective. We cannot generalize creativity. Like unfortunately, we have created something called as intellectual scales. We do go by IQ levels. So pathetic to see that there is no such thing called as a generalized intellectual capability. Every child, everybody, whoever born so far, are intellectually competent. The only thing is the upbringing, the environment, so other components influence their intellectual capabilities. But by birth, we all are born with good intellectual ability. Why is that creativity in so high demand? Because everybody, even if you see the industry leaders, no matter which field you go for, everywhere the only criteria would be creativity. If you see India, we produce large engineers in the world, largest producers of engineers, like largest producers of some vegetables. I'm sorry to say that. Even though highest unemployability of engineers could be seen in India. So why is that so? Because their only criteria is creativity, lack of creativity. If you see the rejection of those candidates, they write clearly lack of creativity. So what is the creativity they are talking about? What is that the creative understanding they are into? The creativity is the basic criteria to get into any job or to secure job. But unfortunately, it's a subjective expression, and the entire modern education is focused on inculcating this creativity and fostering it, and it has become a mission to foster this creativity. But without understanding the entirety of creativity, they are trying to push so many new theories, so many skills, orientation, training, methods, whatnot. But it's so unfortunate that they have not understood what is the actual understanding of creativity, because creativity is not a constant thing. Creativity is always it's constantly changing. It is not a stagnant thing. Because if you see the creative habits of mind, because when we talk about mind, obviously it's a wandering thing. And when we talk about creativity, it's an expression of mind. So this is also a wandering thing. It keeps changing and it keeps changes. That is the basic nature of anything that is related to the mind. So creative habits of mind, especially if you want to be creative, we should be inquisitive. Inquisitive has to be, we have to be curious, because to know something, we have to be curious. But if you see today's generation, so unfortunate, they're not curious, because everything has been set out. Like you have to go for 2 + 2 = 4. I'm not saying mathematics is wrong, but the thing is, we have trained our young generation in such a manner that they don't go beyond thinking what could be the other perspectives. So that is where they lose not being inquisitive. So the second thing is being persistent. And you can understand today's scenario. The persistence is biggest challenge. And being imaginative. They don't imagine anything out of the box, because we have put the frame. We always teach them, even informal education starts at home. Home is the first school and parents are the first teachers. Being so, we restrict our young budding minds by saying you should follow only these things. Because in order to score more, you have to follow this. Because if you score more marks, you get better position, you will get better paid, and you will be getting whatever you want in your life. But unfortunately, that is very much limited to mundane, secular attainments. But that is not the whole purpose of this life. And being disciplined. If you see this pandemic thing, the entire lifestyle has become upside down, especially when it comes to students. They don't know how to manage their lifestyle without schools, because the entire learning process for children today has become school dependent. They have to go out, they have to go to the school, then only they can learn. They have forgotten that the home is the first school, the place where they live. There also they can learn, but the entire education system has transformed in such a way that the learning can happen only under the roof of schools and colleges, but not beyond or outside of it. And being collaborative, here we don't see any collaborative ideology. Here we see only comparative and competitive ideologies. If you see, no kid today in this younger generation, especially in the modern world, they're not collaborative. They don't try to do anything. They can't even imagine anything collaborative. They only they could think or imagine is being competitive or being comparative. So, but you cannot inculcate creativity by holding such hindrances in their ideologies. You see how education and creativity both are connected. The creative behaviors, as life begins, when we were kids, we had expansive creative behavior because we used to be curious. That is where we call children or younger children are the best example for researchers or scientists, because they could explore anything because they're so curious. That is expansive behavior. But as we grow older, as we get into school, and the schooling process makes us completely reductive, Reductive means we become narrow and narrow with our perception, even our entire cognitive will become narrow. So that is the most vulnerable thing for creativity, because you cannot have creativity by being reductive. So that is where the entire thing is going for a task. You see, modern education, you can understand if you go by definition, education it has become a platform for the children to get well equipped with the information or so-called knowledge. I don't know whether we can make use of that entire information into our practical activities, but we do gather some amount of information and skills which could fetch us some job or employment, so that we can lead our day-to-day life. It has become very limited even with the definition of modern education. That is where everything is getting totally messed up. The exact outcome of today's modern education, if you see highly educated, double PhD, triple PhDs or postdoc, the higher they earn degrees, the more degrees they earn, the higher they get educated, they become more isolated. They don't even mingle with people. They always look down at others because of this is the outcome of modern education. If you see uneducated, they don't even go to the school. They're so happy. They live in groups. So that clearly shows the entire behavioral transformation is pure result of our so-called education. But in modern ancient view of education, if you see from Vishnu Purana, even if it dates back to Vedic era, there Tatkarma yenna bandaya savidyaya vimuktaye. Such a fascinating statement in this verse. If you try to understand, if we do any action, right action, which does not conduce to bondage, like when we call it as the concept of Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, the same thing applies. And when it comes to the knowledge, true knowledge, Vidya is the knowledge, the true knowledge, which always takes a student to liberation or self-actualization. Doesn't mean that I'm talking about moksha, kaivalya. So all those things are nothing but just to make an individual completely capable for everything. It is not just to earning degree or getting a good position or job or a good package. It's about being a complete human being, to serve the purpose of being a human. What we call it as Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Chaturvida Purusharthas are the purpose of life. Not just being employable or becoming employable is not the very purpose of life. The entire education, because the word education, it comes from a Latin root that educe is to bring out. Bring out what? Bring out the best in within. So whatever the best an individual, a kid has, education system should be in a position to bring out from them. So that is what the entire concept. If you see similar correlation from even Sanskrit Subhashita, Nasti Vidya Samam Chakshu. So if you see Nasti Vidya Samam Chakshu, why they correlated knowledge into vision or for eyes is not just for the sake of similes. This is for thought-provoking idea, where only because of knowledge one can through anything in its right perspective. So even when we talk about everything is perception, to make our perception in the right direction, education or knowledge makes vidya. Knowledge makes conducive for an individual to perceive the same. Significance of education in ancient India. If you see, Swadeshe Pujate Raja, Vidwan Sarvatra Pujayet. Only the kings and kingsmen were only worshipped within their territories. But if you see, the wise person or learned person would be, applauded and praised all around. Why is that? Because that shows the power of wisdom, power of knowledge, and that knowledge comes with right form of education. Entire education pattern, especially we talk about Vedic system, because ancient Indian education system is based on Vedic education system. There are certain other forms, but by and large, ancient Indian education is based on Vedic tradition. And all the fields of learning, if we try to summarize, they go on explaining two forms of knowledge. One is Paravidya. Paravidya is for spiritual wisdom, or to know the true self or true existential aspect. And Aparavidya is for the secular purpose, like our day-to-day activities. So they made very clear distinction between these two, because they say Paravidya is to live comfortable life here in this birth, and Aparavidya and Paravidya is for the purpose of afterlife, because most of them they might reject this hypothesis. They say there is no such thing called as after death. We do have post-mortal existence, otherwise no religion could survive. If there is no post-mortal existence, then people will be like, they will be living life as if there is no consequences for it. When you talk about punya leads to sukha, papa leads to dukkha, the entire punya, papa, good, bad, all those things are collectively comes under the segment of the post-mortal existence. So a very balanced para and apara vidya. One should not get educated only under the umbrella of Paravidya. The learner, should get exposed to both the part of it, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Then only he or she can be, a good citizen for a society, because culture and civilization. Culture is like a mind of the society, and civilization is it's like a body of the society. So in order to create a healthy and happy, prosperous society, we have to create citizens who knows both the sides of it, para and apara vidya. That is what the most beautiful aspect of ancient Indian education. It's not just monotonous, learning things which could only provide or support their day-to-day life. It's for evolving an individual from lower intellectual or lower wisdom base to higher existential planes. Even if you go further, the Vedic content, that is the most fundamental of ancient education. They go on giving three fundamental aspects to ancient Indian education. One aspect of is the jnana, the wisdom, the knowledge base of it, the karma, the action, the behavioral part of it, and upasana, the dedication, or how one, with what attitude the student or learner performs his or her duties. If you see, with the proper knowledge, actions become completely like a worship. How to transform a normal activity into worship. With the proper wisdom, activity becomes worship. And if the worship is worshipped by a person with an attitude of gratitude, then life becomes so joyful and vivid, serene. So these are the outcomes, which is not like the higher the degree we get, the more isolated we become, or more egoistic we become. This is not the case here in ancient education, because the jnana is the fundamental thing. Jnana uplifts the actions, a behavioral pattern, and behind that, the action becomes worship. Then the attitude behind that worship becomes totally, attitude of gratitude. So that is where normal humans used to be called as superhumans, not in the sense of superpowers, with the sense of uplifting oneself into higher realms of an existence. If you see the ideals and aims of ancient Indian education, not just making them or teaching some skills to survive their day-to-day life, it would start from the formation of character. Their more moral characteristic is the basic thing, and infusion of religiousness. Please don't take this statement wrong. Religiousness is not about extremist ideologies. Religiousness is nothing but how to inculcate a spiritualization into their life, how to spiritualize their day-to-day life. Because religiousness, the entire religiousness is based on spirituality. So we should infuse this religiousness into children so that they could practice spirituality into their day-to-day activities. That is very essential, especially when the difficult times like pandemic crisis, they become totally clueless. They don't know how to manage anything. It becomes completely bizarre. So spiritualizing daily life through infusion of religion is very essential, and that is the most important ideal of ancient education. And developing personalities, these days we get to see so many personality development programs, but here the personality is entirety of an individual's expression, whether we talk about his physical appearance, whether it is about his energy levels, whether it is about his thoughts and emotions and its intellectual choices, and how he feels about himself or herself, self experiences. So collectively all these things makes a person's personality, because personality is the Greek word for persona, is the mask. What is that mask behind? Who is there behind the mask? So in order to give this entire understanding, ancient education includes para and apara vidyas. There are so many components to it. Developing a proper discrimination, judgment, like kindling the intellectual capabilities of the seeker, and inculcation of civic and social duties, because that is very essential. As we talk yama and niyamas in the first step of Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali's. Why is that so essential? Because just learning some secular things like mathematics or chemistry or biology, that will not make a seeker or a student complete. He or she should have a better civic and social responsibilities and promotion of social efficacy. How one could be helpful to society, how well he or she could contribute to society. That is also very essential. That is what social efficiency. And ultimately how to perceive happiness, how to experience happiness. But if you see today's education, everybody like IITians, I am sorry to say, use those institutions name not in the offensive way. Everybody is chasing worldly pleasures because they think happiness is something which should be obtained from external source. But we have forgotten the very fact, being in Indians, we are the people, our ancestors were the people who taught the world that happiness is within. That is what the entire composition of Anandamaya Kosha, to explore the bliss within. That is the very essential, aim of education. But all these things have been totally, taken into some entirely different perspective. You might get shocked, like why is he using this diagram of some modern research perspective here? Because when we talk about creativity is the expression of our mental process, but it is directly related to our state of health. Whether the person is sick or health, the physical health also interferes, the mental health also interferes, even the social health, even the spiritual health. Health in total is direct, it interacts directly with person's creativity, because if somebody is sick, whether it is about creative drive or whether it is creative cognition, like what we call it executive cognition. So both the ways, if person is sick, he or she might not be able to have that creative experience. So health is the first criteria to achieve creativity. For that, even Western scientific community have proposed this dual theory of nigrostrial pathways and mesocortical pathways. These are the few pathways of dopamine pathways in the brain, which regulates the entire executive function and creative drives at the neuronal level. I'm not talking about the mind level, because mind and brain are entirely separate entities with a structural construct. So here, if you see, the entire graph represents whether it is reward, whether it is a mindset, whether it is a creative drive or executive functions. It's very complex process. It is not very simple. If you say like, I will teach you some mathematical equation so that your creativity will improve, or I will give you some herbal concussion that your creativity will improve. It is to improve creativity, one should change his or her entire lifestyle, and he or she should improvise their state of health. Then only we can achieve creativity. Creativity is not a result of some activity. It is the byproduct of healthy and spiritual living. If you see the heritage, our heritage, vast Indian heritage, Swami Vivekananda ji states very clearly, education is the manifestation of perfection already exist. So it's already there. The entire purpose of our schooling, learning is just to bring that divinity to the surface. That is the very purpose of education. Then only the purpose of education fulfills. But the modern society has made it completely industry oriented. We are producing a workforce for industries. We are not producing better humans. So in order to understand this better, the highest education, even Rabindranath Tagore says, not just merely feeding the information, we should make the person the skills, the information, the knowledge, whatever is required for an individual to live in harmony within external existence. Then only the purpose of education will be fulfilled. Very interestingly, if we explore ancient Indian education, yoga is been an integral part of ancient Indian education or Vedic education. But unfortunately, in modern education system, yoga is nowhere could be seen because they consider it is something to do with religion or whatever the philosophical part of it. But yoga is the most potential tool for an individual to kindle their creativity. If you see, in a Vedic education era, this learner should have to go through all the practices, whether it is asana. If you see their lifestyle, like they used to stay in ashrams or even pathshalas or even in the temple premises. That is how they used to, after the Upanayana Sanskara, they used to, parents used to send them to these learning facilities, and there they should go through with this rigorous, learning process through the yogic life. Student life is nothing but a yogic life. Then only the creativity could be spontaneously seen in them. Otherwise, it is not a byproduct of extra learning from tuition or other imaginary, stimulatory things. So there they used to follow a lot of like asana, pranayama, mudra, bandha, all the yogic practices, including chanting. Those days they did not have the technological advancement. So whatever they have to memorize, they have to chant, they have to smarana, manana, nididhyasana. So the entire process of learning used to be very rigorous through the inculcation of yogic practices. If you see the findings back to 1970s, like almost 50 odd years back, they found that when mind is calm, the executive functions and all the dopaminergic pathways of learning could get activated. So why is that so relevant? Because our ancestors were very clear about inculcating yoga into education. Without yogic practices, the student would not be in a position to control their mind. Without controlling the mind, you won't be able to pay attention and the further learning processes. So even if you see yoga as an intervention, or yogic components are part of intervention, the evidence clearly say the cognitive abilities or even executive functions or creative measures, according to psychology, would get significantly enhanced by the practice of yogic techniques. And these techniques were integral part of ancient learning. So if we want to help our children during pandemic crisis, they are clueless, they are directionless, they are so frustrated, and the entire learning process has become bizarre, then first and foremost thing, what I would advise is get them back to a yogic lifestyle. start teaching yogic principle, like whether it is a simple mantra chanting or pranayama, asana, even to begin with getting up early. So these are the small, tiny changes as their mind slows down, because they are also, very anxious and depressed with this pandemic crisis, as we are. They are also going through with the same, but at least we have worldview, we have experience of life, so that we can correlate and we can self-regulate ourselves, self-soothing. But they cannot, because they don't have worldview, and their entire expression is dependent on us, on elders, our parents, or their immediate surrounding. So in order to make them calm, first thing is to inculcate yogic practices into their lifestyle. Then slowly, once their mind stops, then creatively their learning process begins. We don't have to pressurize them to learn something new. First, try to regularize their daily activities and try to inculcate yogic practices into their lifestyle. The rest of creativity is assured. You don't have to even worry about whether he or she will become creative again or not. That will be the definite consequence of doing or following yogic lifestyle. The most ironic thing is, like, even Albert Einstein, so-called the father of secular science, he himself he wrote, I quote, "Education is what remains after you have forgotten what you learned in school." So ultimately, he says clearly, whatever we learn in school will not come for our rescue in our future days. So it has to be something unique. It should be adaptive. It should be, inquisitive for a person to go and seek further. Like, education should kindle a person to go further and explore further. Unfortunately, the drastic change in our cultural setup has influenced our education system as well, because cultural heritage of a country is determined by education, and education culture goes hand in hand. So because of westernization, unfortunately, our entire education system has completely got driven away with Western ideologies. We have totally forgotten our ancient, such a priceless, time-tested learning methods, whether we call it as yoga. So here, my humble request to all the parents, or all the seekers, or all the teachers or instructors, the best way is to inculcate yogic lifestyle. First and foremost thing, let us try to begin with the small steps. Learning, creative learning, rest of the things are assured. First is to establish a better mind-body awareness, to settling them, then everything else will definitely follow. But I can understand how parents are worried, because the entire thing is bizarre and everybody is clueless, and now people are worried about third wave. I don't know how many more waves are still pending, but right now what best we can do is we should always support our children in healthy lifestyle. So let us become sound mind in sound body, and sound body in sound mind, like how we talk about psychological and physiological perspective. Brain, entire neurobiology, whether it is a reward system or the entire dopaminergic pathways, everything is again connected with our mind body perspective. So let us try to inculcate a better healthy environment based on yogic principles. So creativity will be assured. Obviously, whether we are talking about children or whether we are talking about adults, even when we are talking about older generation or senior citizens, they can also make use of the same thing. So that would be a preventive aspect for Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative practices. So yeah, it's a vast thing to talk, because we have such a vast, educational heritage from gifted by our ancestors. I tried a few areas, tried to touch few areas here. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to take any questions if there are. So I think how to dilute addiction of mobile and internet and all digital addiction children. Yeah, this is the biggest thing right now. mobile or smartphone addiction or internet addiction. See, we have shifted our learning from offline mode to online mode. Everything has become totally virtual. Obviously, that would be an expected outcome when you talk about online mode. And the worst part is, we being a parents or caretakers, we have forgotten their basic requirements. As a kid, as a children, or a young learner, they are so much, they're filled with, they're bubbling with so much of energy. It has to be diverted, or it has to be properly channelized. You can't ask them to sit in one place and constantly go on reading, because maximum sustained attention could go up to 15 minutes. So not to mention those children, they are bubbling with energy, curiosity, and they are trying to explore everything possible. So in that case, before the compulsive behavior begins, we should channelize their energy, make it more productive, and make it more interesting for them to learn. Obviously, if you can't ask them like go and do Surya Namaskar, they won't do it. You have to make it more interesting. So you could make them like, let's do some practice. Being a parents, we should take them into consideration, and parallelly we should build healthy routine with them. Then these internet addiction and other things. See, addiction is again a reward. It is based on reward mechanism. They feel good with that. And again, whenever they feel disturbed, they try to pursue the same thing. So here we cannot erase the memory, but we can replace the memory with something else, make them something interesting. So they definitely feel attracted, and slowly the dilution of that compulsion goes away. Please suggest few yogic practices that helps improve creativity, which can be incorporated in children's lifestyle easily. Realistic amount of time. Thank you very much. He has particularly mentioned the time frame. See, when it comes to yogic practices, as we all know that yoga is a lifestyle. So when you talk about particularly practices, at least to begin with, let them practice simple Kapalbhati. It's an hyperventilation practice. Bastrika might be difficult for them, but at least to begin with, let them make Kapalbhati, like 2-3 rounds of Kapalbhati, 120 strokes, so that the prefrontal hemodynamics, the blood flow to the brain changes significantly, even during one episode of Kapalbhati. So that the hemodynamic alteration in the prefrontal cortex at least gives some amount of elevation to their executive function. In that means, definitely you can see the change. So simple pranayama to begin with, then slowly inculcate with Surya Namaskara and other relaxation, and even simple Trataka and meditation. Those things can be taught in a progressive way. Yeah. Sir, from which age children can start yoga practices? In the last webinar, that is what we covered. There is no age limit for a kid to start yoga, but only thing is, don't teach any inverted practices before the age of 7. No mudra, bandhas, and inverted practices before the age of 7. I personally, I would recommend, let them do simple mimic animal or simple image mimicking practices, but strictly no kriyas, no bandhas, no mudras, no inverted practices till the age of 7, because that causes pubertal issues. So better avoid this, and rest you can definitely follow. So very difficult to manage 18-year, not listening and egoism, laziness, how to make understand the values. So yeah, 18-year is a bit a tough age, because it's a peak of adolescence, and almost they are getting into an adulthood. So in that age, it's not a tender age to infuse these value-based ideas. But still, if we at least get them into some sort of selfless activities, helping others, serving others. So in those selfless activities, if you involve them, they slowly try to feel the difference within, and definitely they will proceed further with that. You cannot make them sit and meditate. You can't ask them to do, because whatever you say, they will have repulsion to it. So better thing is slowly divert them towards some activities where they can involve themselves, like selfless activity, helping others, those things. So definitely they will do it, because they are in the phase of ego because of their identification crisis. So that will work. So if there are no, I think there are no further questions. Any yoga tips? Yes, sir, please go ahead. Somebody is rising. Yes, Prashant ji, please go ahead. You have to unmute yourself. Sir, please unmute yourself and then ask question.
Hello.
Yeah, please, you can ask questions if you want. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, what is yoga education, sir? What is yoga education?
I think. Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me now?
Yes, Chitra ji, you can ask question.
Sir, can you please let us know ways to manage, handle anger in kids?
I'm not able to hear anything from them. So, well, the last question from Pratyush ji is, any yogic tips or meditation to overcome self-doubting and increasing confidence in self-confidence? So, self-doubt and when you talk about self-confidence, these are the psychological constructs which requires multidimensional approach. Like one should understand his or her own abilities. In order to do so, we have to slow down our mind, because these are subconscious constructs. Because of our previous experiences, we have those schemas. They are strong beliefs about our own selves. If we are doubting our own selves, then we are doubting our abilities, because it could be a pure result of our past experiences. So we should take them gradually to the subconscious state through relaxation practices to begin with, then these meditation practices. As Nagendra ji clearly states, recognition is half a solution. Even if I'm self-doubting, even if I don't have confidence, because I don't trust my abilities, I feel I'm not enough. So all these doubts and lack of self-confidence can be resolved when we reach the subconscious schemas, where even to reach there, simple recognition, simple relaxation techniques are more than enough. So go on practicing relaxation techniques, calm down your conscious expression, then slowly you will dwell into subconscious state of mind. Then definitely you can explore those hindrances in your subconscious state. That will definitely make change in your behavior. So yes.
Sir,
Prashant ji, I'm not able to hear you.
Sir, what is yoga education?
I'm very sorry. Yeah, yes. Prashant ji, please go ahead. I'm very sorry, Prashant ji. I won't.
Sir, now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please.
Okay. Sir, come to Bengaluru.
Yeah.
From Bengaluru.
Yes.
Sir, what is yoga education? What is yoga education?
Sir, nimdu voice break aagte. I won't be able to follow you.
Sir, his question is, Prashant's question is, what is yoga education?
There is no such thing called as yoga education. Yoga is an integral part of education. Education is the process of learning. If you want to learn something, the process of learning is education. During that process, yoga is an integral part of that process. So there are no such thing called as yoga education. Yoga is an integral part of education. There are so many other, like whether you talk about Pandemie, Vyakarana, that is also an education. So these are different means of learning things. And yoga is constantly, it's there, it's a constant phenomenon, all the format of learning. So hope I try to convey some information here. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Sudhaji, for delivering such a thoughtful session. Thank you very much for patience hearing, and thank you very much, Lakulish Yoga University, for this opportunity. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vijay, for the insights into creative learning and ancient Indian system of learning. Before we start off with the next session, I request all of you to take a look at the chat box. We have shared a Google link for registration for tomorrow's webinar. Lakulish Yoga University is organizing a national webinar on post-COVID cardiac complications and rehabilitation through yoga. Please register through the Google link. The Zoom link will be sent to you via email. Okay, moving on to the next session. Now that we have heard the complications in learning process and also how yoga helps in coping, it is time for us to also practice and learn practically the module of yoga for effective learning. It gives me immense pride to introduce our yoga teacher, Ms. Aishwarya Jadeja, to all of you. She has completed her MSc in yoga and is currently working as a yoga teacher in Lakulish Yoga University. She is also pursuing her PhD. She has taught yoga to students from Taiwan and Vietnam. She's an upcoming star in our university. She not only teaches yoga, but also lives like a yogi. We're very proud to introduce our most hardworking, kind, simple, and modest teacher to all of you. Over to you, Aishwarya, ma'am.
Hello, I think am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yes. First of all, I would like to go down to Guruji, Bapuji, and Dadaji, and also to Lakulish Yoga University, Sahana ma'am, to give me such a good opportunity. And also thanks to Sudhaji and Vijay sir for giving us such a wonderful session and giving us so much of knowledge and information. So now we'll just start with our practice. We'll start with a loosening exercise. Slowly and gradually stand up. We'll start with the jogging exercise. Hands by the side of your body. Come on your toes. Slowly and gradually make a slow squeeze of your hands. Bring your feet near to your chest. And then we'll start with the slow jogging. You should be on your toes, heel up. Start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now slowly and gradually lean forward and try to bring your heel towards your buttocks as much as you can. We'll start with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Again, slow jogging. Again, lean a little bit forward. And bring your knees near to your chest as much as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, slow jogging. Now, sideways. Bring your head to sideways as much as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slow jogging. Release and relax. Relax yourself. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Now, bring your both legs together. At first, just watch out, and we'll do together. Raise your both hands from front side, hands above your head. Your biceps touching your ears. While inhaling, arch your back a little bit. Make sure that your biceps are touching your ears. Exhale. And forward, just loosen your body. Try to make sure that you're as much as you can, bend forward as much as you can. Make sure that your fingers are touching your ankle over your and your palms facing towards roof. Inhale, arch back, exhale down, all together. Start. Bring your legs together and the side of your body. Inhale, internal tension up back. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, come up. Release and relax. Slowly and gradually bring your hands down from front side. Relax yourself completely. Now find the twist. Legs wide apart. Slightly more than shoulder width distance. 1 meter. Hands by the side of your body. Raise your both hands from sideways. Parallel to your shoulder. Now bring your right palm on your left shoulder. The deep inhale. Exhale. While exhaling, slowly and gradually twist your spine towards left side as much as you can. Those who have got serious spine problem or vertigo problem, please don't do this practice. Just look at your palms. Your left palm, stay there. Inhale. Center. Keep your palms here only. Near to your chest or your shoulder, whichever is comfortable to you. Inhale. Exhale. Shift your tongue towards the left side. Inhale. Center. Exhale. Inhale, center. Exhale. Push your torso towards left side. Look at your left palm. Straight. Inhale, center. Now slowly and gradually release your right hand. Bring it again back to the sideways. Release your both hands from sideways. We'll do with another side. Once again, raise your both hands from sideways parallel to your shoulder. Now, bring your left palm onto your right chest or your right shoulder. Inhale. Exhale. Twist your torso towards right side as much as you can. Make sure your knees are straight. Twist your upper body. Just look at your palms. Stay there. Inhale, center. Inhale. Exhale. Again, twist your torso towards right side. Look at your right palm. Inhale, center. Last frequency, exhale. Twist your torso towards right side as much as you can. Release with your palms. Inhale, center. Release and relax. Slowly and gradually bring your left hand sideways. Release and relax your both hands from sideways. Bring it near to your thighs. Relax completely. Now, side twisting. Against legs wide apart up to 1 meter. Raise your both hands from sideways, parallel to your shoulder. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Twist your torso towards right side. Straight as much as you can. Just get on your ankles. Place at your palm. Above, which is at 90 degrees. Both knees straight. Inhale, center. Again, inhale. Exhale. Your torso towards right side. Hip and your ankle. Base with your palms above. Inhale. Again, exhale. Put your torso towards right side. With the help of your right palm, hit on your right ankle. Lift at your palm. Inhale, center. Now we'll do with the left side. Again, raise your both hands from front side. From sideways, parallel to your shoulder. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Bend your knee, bend your torso towards right, left side. Go down with the help of your left palm. Take on your right ankle. Gaze at your right palm above. Inhale, center. Exhale again. Bend your torso towards left side. Your left palm. Gaze on your right ankle. Gaze at your right palm. Inhale, come up. Last frequency, inhale, exhale. Again, go down towards the side. Reach on your left ankle, reach your left, right palm. Inhale up, release and relax, slowly and gradually bring your both hands down. Relax completely. Now last breathing exercise. Again, legs wide apart. 1 meter. Now while inhaling, raise your both hands from sideways, parallel to shoulder. Inhale. Exhale. Twist your torso. And then with the help of your right palm, get on your left toe. Inhale up. Exhale down. The same way, we'll do it all together at first on right and then left. All together, hands to the side of your body, back straight, body straight. Raise your both hands from sideways, parallel to your shoulder. Inhale. Twist your torso a little bit, exhale down. With the help of the right palm, take on your left toe. Look up on your left palm, gaze at your left palm. Inhale up. A little bit fast. Exhale, again turn your torso, exhale down. With the help of your right palm, get on your left toe. Gaze at your left palm. Inhale up. Exhale, twist your torso, exhale, go down. Get on your left toe with the help of your right palm. Gaze at your palms, inhale up. Relax, now we'll do with the another side. Inhale, raise your both hands from sideways, parallel to shoulder. Twist your torso, exhale down. That's the left palm, get on your right toe. Gaze at your right palm, inhale out. Turn your torso, exhale again down. The left palm, keep on your right toe. Gaze at your right palm, inhale out. Last to frequency, inhale. Twist your torso, exhale down. Put the chin, put the face on your toes. Put the palm. Inhale up. Release and relax. Relax. Okay, now spread your legs a little bit more than your shoulder width distance. Place your both palms to stand a little bit forward, 90 degrees. Place your both palms on your thighs, your elbows straight, Mukta Choti. Take a deep inhale. Exhale through your mouth. Forcefully inhale. Exhale. 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 Slowly and gradually come up, balance healing, release and relax. Hands by the side of your body. Try to normalize your breathing. With your both legs together, I will perform the 2 rounds of Surya Namaskar. Bring your both legs together, hands by the side of your body. Raise your both hands from sideways, parallel to your shoulders. Turn your palms towards you. Inhale, hands above your head. Namaskar Mudra. Exhale, bring your Namaskar Mudra down in front of your chest. Inhale, internal attention at your back. Exhale, then forward. While exhaling, go down from your lower back. Place your both palms beside your legs. Try to place your head on your knees. Stay there. Inhale, left leg back. Bring your left leg back side. Your knees on the ground. Place your both palms beside your legs. Your legs 90 degrees. Exhale, plank posture. Slowly and gradually bring your right leg back. Inhale, knees down. Exhale, chest down, chin down. Your elbow close to your body. Abdomen up. Inhale. Slowly and gradually arch your back. Bring your thighs up. Shoulder completely relaxed. Arch your head a little bit. Exhale, mountain pose. Try to make sure that your foot is on the ground. Inhale. Left leg front. Your left leg at front, 90 degree. Your right knee on the ground. Toes on the ground, heel up from back side. Exhale, bend forward. Place your forehead, just in on your knees. Inhale and turn your attention at your back. Exhale, Namaskar Mudra. One more round. Again, place your both palms in Namaskar Mudra in front of your chest. Inhale and turn your attention at your back. Exhale, bend forward, go down. Place your both palms on the ground. Place your forehead, your chin on your knees. Inhale, right leg back. Slowly and gradually, when you like the right leg back, your right knee on the ground, left leg 90 degree. Toe tuck of your right leg. Exhale. While exhaling, bring your left leg also back. Come in a plank posture. Inhale, knees down. Exhale, chest down. Chin down. Inhale. Arch your back, your thighs up. Shoulder completely relaxed. Exhale. Come in the mountain pose. Try to make sure your feet is on the ground. Inhale, right leg front, 90 degree. Left leg back side, left leg knee on the ground. The toes tucks in. Exhale, bend forward. Place your both palms beside your heart on the ground. Inhale and turn your attention up your back. Exhale, Namaskar Mudra. Release and relax. Just close your eyes. Just loosen your whole body. Just close your eyes, loosen your whole body. Try to bring your consciousness on your toes. Little bit finger your toes. Slowly and gradually, bring your consciousness on your navel region, abdominal region. Inhale, exhale, continue. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Try to normalize your breathing. Just look at your abdominal region while you are inhaling. Tummy comes out. Make it a big, big round while exhaling. Tuck your tummy in towards your spine as much as you can. Slowly and gradually visualize your abdominal movement by inhaling and exhaling. And try to relax your body. Loosen your whole body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now we'll perform a car. Eyes closed only. Take a deep inhale while exhaling. You have to say a car. We'll do all together. Eyes closed. Just try to relax. Take a deep inhale. Relax your lower body. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Slowly and gradually bring your body into consciousness. Finger your toes, your fingers. Make a very slow movement of your fingers and your toes. Now, slowly and gradually, bring your body into consciousness. Open your eyes. Relax yourself completely. Now perform the asana. Bring your both legs together. Your left leg firmly on ground. That's also Vrikshasana. Those who have got knee problem, be careful. Those who have got a vertigo problem, they're also be careful. Otherwise, all the people can perform the Vrikshasana, free pose. Place your left leg firmly on ground. Raise your right leg up. Catch on your right ankle with the help of the right palm. Try to place your foot in your Muladhara region, the genital region. Knees, both knees parallel to each other. After having a good balance, you can also take the support of your wall. If you are not able to do that, slowly and gradually raise your both hands from sideways. Hands above your head, biceps touching your ears. Namaskar mudra. Stay there. Concentrate on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Slowly and gradually bring your both hands down from sideways. Slowly and gradually bring your legs down. I will do with the another side. Place your right leg firmly on ground. Raise your left leg up. Catch on your ankle of your left leg with the help of your left palm. Place your heel towards the Muladhara region or your genital region. Make sure both knees are parallel to each other. You can take a support if you want. After having a good balance, place your both hands from sideways. All together, hands above your head. Biceps touching your ears. Namaskar mudra. Stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale slowly and gradually bring your hands down at first. And take your legs down. Release and relax. By doing Vrikshasana, our concentration increases. All the organs of your legs also increases. Legs are strengthened. All the limbs are strengthened. Now we'll go to the next asana, Parthastasana. At first, those who are pregnant, who have done any operation of your stomach within the past 3 months, those who have got a hypertension, vertigo problem, heart problem, should avoid Parthastasana. Those who have got severe spine problems, slip disc, they can do till 90 degrees. Otherwise, they should avoid it. Bring your both legs 1 inch apart. Hands by the side of the thighs. Raise your both hands from front side. Hands above your head. One also about hernia or the ulcer, they should also avoid it. Bring your both biceps near to your ears, biceps touching your ears. Inhale, exhale, bend forward. Slowly and gradually while exhaling, go down. Down, down, down. Place your both arms beside your legs outside. Try to place your forehead, on your knees, stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Inhale, slowly and gradually come up while inhaling. Bring your both hands down from front side, the side of your thighs. Padhastasana, once again, last frequency. Hands at the side of your thighs. Raise your both hands from front side. Hands above your head. Biceps touching your ears. Inhale, stretch your body towards sky. Exhale, bend forward. All together go down while exhaling. Straight, go down. Take your both palms beside your toes, outside your foot. Place your forehead on your knees. Stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Inhale, slowly and gradually come up while inhaling. Your both hands down from front side. Release and relax completely. Now, cross your both legs. Raise your both hands from front side, parallel to your shoulder. Slowly and gradually sit down, with or without support, whichever is comfortable to you. Extend your both legs in front. Silent position. Deep inhale, deep exhale. By doing Padhastasana, the constipation related problem, you can just relax and just listen to the advantage of Padhastasana. Just reveal even the fat around your abdomen and your waist is reduced. Those who have got piles, it is very helpful for them. Also, your legs muscles are strengthened. They become flexible. I will go with the next asana, Paschimottanasana. Back straight, body straight. Place your both palms. Those who have got a slip disc problem, I request them to avoid. Place your both palms on your respective knees. Place your both hands from front side, hands above your head, biceps touching your ears. Take a deep inhale, exhale, bend forward, go down, get on your big toe. Try to place your elbow on the ground, your forehead on your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Inhale out. Those who have got a spine problem, they can just look straight and then can perform. Once again, all together, back straight, body straight. Raise your both hands from front side at first. Biceps touching your ears. Stretch your body towards sky as much as you can. Exhale, bend forward. Go down while exhaling. Keep on your toes. Place your elbow on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Inhale. Release and relax. Place your both palms again backside. Kushasan. And Shiv Sanhita is also given the name as the Ugrasana. That's the name of the another name of Shivji. This is the favorite asana of his. It also helps to strengthen all our 5 pranas according to the scriptures. It helps to reduce the weight, helps to strengthen our leg muscles, make our spine more and more flexible. It also helps to balance our blood pressure. Blood circulation is also possible. I will go with another one with the help of your elbow support. Slowly and gradually lie on your stomach. All together. Place your chin on your knees. Place your chin on the ground. Sorry. Bring your both legs together. Your toes should be flat. We'll start with the Bhujangasana, but at first, those who got any operation, they should not perform this asana. Stomach operation within the 3 months. If you've got lower back problem, your severe back injury, you should not perform. Please put chin on the ground. Place your both palms beside your chest. Inhale. While inhaling, and make sure that your elbow is near to your body. While inhaling, raise your head up, your chest up. Do not go below your pelvic region. Stay there. 1, 2, 3. Arch your back a little bit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Slowly and gradually bring your body down. Place your chin on the ground. The position of your hands will remain the same. Your palms beside your chest. The first ribcage. Now once again, inhale. While inhaling, raise your head up, your chin, neck, down. Your upper body, don't go below your pelvic region. Stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Slowly and gradually go down while exhaling. With your chin on the ground, relax. Bring your both hands beside your thighs. Relax yourself completely. It helps to make our spine flexible. Bhujangasana also helps to cure the stomach related problem. It helps to strengthen our neck, our back. Constipation is driven. Your fat has been reduced. Now we'll go with the next Salpasana. Those who have got diabetes, hypertension, stomach operation, those who have done stomach operation, pregnant ladies, and those who have got a ulcer and a very severe back pain problem should avoid Salpasana. Bring your both legs together from behind, the toes flat. Now bring your both arms a little bit inside Go to your thighs, your palms facing towards roof. Now while inhaling, just raise your both legs up. Make sure that your knees are straight. All together, inhale, raise your both legs up. Chin on the ground only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Bring your legs together. Last frequency of Salvasana. Chin on the ground. And a little bit inserted under your thighs. Your palms facing towards roof. Again, inhale. Raise your both legs up. Make sure that your knees are straight. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Continue. Stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Relax yourself completely. Again, bring your both legs together. Now we'll do Dhanurasana. Last asana. The session. Those who are having very heat in the body should avoid this asana. Those who got severe back related problem, severe, they should avoid that asana. Those who got diabetes, they should be little careful. Now bend your both knees from back side. Catch on your right ankle with the help of your right palm. Catch on your left ankle with the help of your left palm. You can watch at first and then we'll do it together. Make sure that your both legs are together. At first, if you are not able to lift, then you can just bring your legs a little bit wide apart, and after a gradual practice, bring it a little bit together. Be able to do that after the practice. Now inhale, raise your chin up, your upper body up, your chest up. Slowly and gradually bring your knees also up. Come on your pelvic region, and your elbows should be straight. And while exhaling, slowly and gradually bring your knees down, your upper body down. All together, take the free position of the asana. Bend your knees. Catch on your palms with the catch on your ankle with the help of your respective palms. Chin on the ground. Try to make sure that your knees are together if possible. Now inhale. Raise your head up, your shoulder up, slowly and gradually. Bring your knees up. Arch your back a little bit. Come on, your pelvic region, stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Bring your legs down at first and then your upper body. Chin on the ground. The pre-position is on only. Last frequency of Dhanurasana. Low pose. Catch on your ankle with the help of your respective palm. Bend your knees from back side. Bring your knees together. Inhale. While inhaling, raise your head up. Your upper body up. And slowly and gradually raise your knees up. Make sure that elbow is straight. Stay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Exhale down. Release and relax. Bring your legs together from behind. come to Makarasana. Put your head either right or on left. Your legs, your toes facing sideways, 1 foot wide apart. Deep inhale, deep exhale, continue. Visualize your toes.
We have come to the end of today's program. I thank our sponsor, IUCYS, for helping us organize such an important and valuable, most needed webinar. I thank our speakers for their time. I thank our participants. I thank our Chancellor, Dr. Dinesh Bhai Aminji, for his constant support. Provost Dr. Chandrasenji Jala sir for his time and encouragement to pursue this webinar. Special thanks to our registrar, Om Dave sir, for always encouraging us to do better and helping us and for being the source of support and positivity. I extend my special thanks to Mr. Jose NJ, consultant to IUAC and IUCYS. He has helped us a lot to put this program in action. I would like to thank Ashora, student of BAc 6th semester, who has helped us in technical arrangements and has been patient with us. We in Lakulish Yoga University take pride in students who are multi-talented and encourage them in the path of holistic growth. Before we end today's program, a gentle reminder about tomorrow's webinar on post-COVID cardiac complications and how yoga can help in rehabilitation from 5 p.m. onwards. The link is in the chat box for registration. The webinars are going to be very informative, and also you will get a certificate for participation. With this, I end today's program. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om shanti shanti shanti. See you all tomorrow. Thank you.